All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our second guest of the evening. He is Team Lloyd Irvin Featherweight, Mr. Sodiq the Super Yusuff, and he is coming off a KO TKO victory at CFFC 66 over Vadim Ogar, and that was August 5th. Wasn't that
yes,
that
sir.
was on CBS last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think they aired it on TV last week.
There you go. Get some TV time there, especially with the
I
big
think
stoppage, right?
Yeah, I missed it a little bit. I was able to catch the Facebook stream, but I wasn't able to catch the TV stream. I was busy. I think I was at practice when it was still going on.
I guess that's sometimes we love technology sometimes because we could just hit the DVR button every now and again. And
yeah. It's all right. I think it wasn't a very long fight, so I've seen it plenty of times.
There you go. But now, another big win under your belt. You're flying high at the beginning of your pro career here. Big opportunity. You fought for victory, fighting championships. You fought for Cage Fury now. Working your way up the regional scenes, so to speak. Where do you see yourself going? Like we were talking about earlier. This sport has grown so much where not everybody necessarily may be a fit for the UFC. Granted, 90% of 95% of your fighters that are out there, will probably be lying to you if they said the UFC wasn't the dream or the goal. But at the end of the day, you guys are professional athletes getting paid to do your thing. If, let's say, you had an offer to go to the UFC, but you had kind of a more lucrative offer, maybe some better opportunities with another promotion like Ryzen or Bellator or something like that. Would that be something you would entertain, or would just the UFC offer just be that's the goal? That's what I want to do.
Yeah, well, at the end, every fighter's dream, no matter what they say, is always to fight in the UFC. At this point, for another company to offer you more money than the UFC would, you would kind of have to have a legit name already. I think it's kind of rare. It's rare to, unless you was previously in the UFC, that's when those other companies offer you better money and better opportunities. But right now, the UFC is still at the top. The sport is growing and all, and a lot of other organizations are coming up, but we're all fooling ourselves. We try to pretend like the UFC is not where everybody else wants to be,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I asked because the landscape is changing, and yeah, I think you're right. Most of the times when you see those situations, they're probably guys who were made a name for themselves in the sport, leaving the UFC, going to another one of these promotions. But you've also seen a lot more recently some of these young prospects who before you would normally see them jump right into the UFC, and there would be, no bones about it, and you're starting to see situations where some of these prospects are going to other organizations, and it's not just the Bellator either. So that's why I asked.
Yeah, I know a lot of times. I know a couple of other organizations that are doing a better job of picking up prospects, and they're building them better. If that's what you're asking. Like I see Bellator does a lot better job of building up up and comers, but that's because I feel like they're able to do that because they could bring in 2-on-1 guys, 3-on-1 guys, 4-on-1 guys, and they could match you up. Once you get to the UFC, you kind of have to jump to the deep end. And man, I don't know for another organization to pick me up over the UFC, I'll be happy, but the UFC will make me the happiest,
Well, like I said, and it's not one of those things where, I think if you have an opportunity like that, maybe take it, but maybe not to the point where you're exclusive to that organization or, it's something that keeps you tied there for a long period of time. I say to all these guys, and not just guys on the large scale, but even guys on the local, don't sign multiple fight contracts unless it's a short time frame. Like, you see it with like in the NFL now. You're starting to see a lot more contracts being given to these guys that are 2-3 years long. Where you go and look at baseball and you see them dealing out 7-year contracts and 6-year contracts. Like, it's one of those things where you, like, sometimes you might want to tie a person up for a long period of time, but then it comes bite you in the butt. I mean, hey, look, I'm a Phillies fan. I know that firsthand. When we signed that contract with Ryan Howard, we were like, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. Then a year and a half into it, we were like, what did we just get ourselves into? We cannot get rid of this guy now. It's one of those things you just have to weigh your options at the end of it.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. Especially if you feel like your record's in a good position and you find yourself in a decent position, you can't be signing multiple fight deals because you never know. Like you said, you never know what opportunity is going to present themselves.
Like I said, just if you have those opportunities, look at them, weigh the options. I just don't like the things where people just go into it blindly and say, this is, I'm just going to go after this right now. Oh, well, they're not going to give me a call and they're going to give me a 4-year contract. I wouldn't do that. If someone wants to set something up for you, 3 fights is the max. 3 fights is the max. Year and a half most. You just the way the landscape. The way the landscape is, you just shouldn't do that. I don't care if it's regional or whatever. Just don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, money talks, though.
Yes, sir. It certainly does.
How much they put on that line, my opinion would change.
But here's the other thing: when you think about it, dude, like you're going to lose a lot of sponsors too when you wind up going to the UFC. So if you have those opportunities where you have good management around you, that they got a decent amount of coming in through sponsorship dollars, and then you're getting a better contract from this promotion on top of it. I think it kind of maybe it's something where fighters are considering it. Like I said, they're just considering it a little bit more now than what they would have 5 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. You can see that being a big trend that's happening. Like Rory McDonald, all those type of guys that went over from the UFC to Bellator. I'm pretty sure that played a big part in the reason why they left.
You got to think those guys were at least pulling in well over $100K in sponsorship dollars. It doesn't matter if it was Rory McDonald or Rick Story, guy who's like the back end of the top 20 in his respective division.
I remember when the Reebok stuff first came out. I remember Brandon Schaub making a big deal about how much money he was losing from sponsors, and he wasn't the most popular guy, but he was just a medium level guy, could bring in a lot of money from sponsors.
I think it's one of the things that people kind of forget about at the end of the day. It's just, it's why I had these conversations with you guys, because I just want to see where you guys are at. Because at the same time, like, you don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. Hell, the promoters don't even have all the answers when it comes down to it. I just say educate yourself and don't be closed-minded to situations. Look, do your due diligence. At the end of the day, it's your body, it's your mind, it's your money. You guys have to figure out what.
You can see a lot of fighters will be hesitant on talking about that kind of stuff because if those.
But it's not like we're over here bashing the UFC like they're. But it's also like we're not over here like bagging on them either. Like it's a reality. If you just get to the point where you are one of those top 5%ers, we'll call them. The guys, the guys and girls who really, rake in money, being cage fighters. That doesn't say that the other 95% are being completely trashed. They're just, losing a little bit here. I just think that that's where you have these situations like what we were talking about with Mike, where you see some of these knuckleheaded sponsors say, "You need to be more like Conor McGregor." What are you freaking talking about?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out there and do things like him. I'm just gonna look like this total phony, and everyone's gonna freaking hate me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the thing with situations like that though is like they don't control the market. If you see if Conor McGregor's recipe is working, that's what they're gonna try to get everybody to do. So it's hard to criticize either
because
I can definitely see the point on both sides.
It works for him because he has the thing that he's endeared his entire countrymen, his entire nation, and not just that is that they travel better than Brazilian fans, which is freaking astonishing because up to that point in time, I was like, you know what? No one travels better than Brazilian MMA fans until Conor McGregor blew up and completely blew that out of the water for me. I was like, all right,
yeah.
I think I need to shut up now because the Irishmen have definitely changed the game. You're going to have to. That's what it's going to take to have the next superstar. It's not going to be an American fighter. I hate to say it. I say this all the time, and people get so mad at me. I'm like, listen, I love this sport. That's the truth. But when you look at
the biggest stars is going to be someone that can attract American
United States MMA fans are United States MMA fans are equivalent to Dodger baseball fans. You show up in the second inning, you leave in the seventh. A lot of these go and look at the stands for the Mayweather McGregor fight. No one showed up until the pay-per-view.
Yeah. But
it's one of those things.
If you look at it this way, though, as the U.S. as a country itself is kind of like a country of immigrants. You know, everybody came from different spots. So even if you're American, you could be like, oh, I'm American and Italian. Oh, I'm American and I'm African American. I'm American and Indian. So the biggest stars aren't ever going to be American fighters. There's going to be a fighter that's, oh, maybe I'm from America, but I'm also bringing another country with me. Like, oh, I'm from Nigeria. So the Americans are going to tune in anyway because the MMA is such a big sport in this country. But they're also going to bring fans from wherever country they're from. So they kind of have a bad head start. So if you're from another country and you're bringing a whole other country with you, that just helps your celebrity status.
Like I said, my big thing is that as much as we love combat sports in the United States, that when it comes down to it, it's still maybe fourth as far as what Americans actually go and tune in and really support from end to end. Football's always going to be number one in the United States. It is being nice because you could still make an argument that hockey still might be more supportive, you know, throughout the United States over than MMA.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of MMA guys and like fighters and people that jiu-jitsu people, all those people, they don't realize how tiny the community really is because we're in it so deep. We don't really understand until you go to like a party or something and you hear people talking about, oh, no holds bars and blah blah. It's like, man, the sports is not really that big.
And I know exactly what you're talking about because when I was at a friend's house about the fight and watching the boxing event, and a couple people overheard the people who invited me there saying that I had an MMA podcast. So I started getting all these questions, and I have like all these people who I have these handful of people who don't really follow combat sports sitting there just just soaking up whatever information I'm willing to dish out to them. It is, because we're in it. We don't really realize how small the MMA community still is. We're still growing. I still feel we're just getting out of kind of that infancy stage right now, where we're starting to hit the toddler stage, so to speak, for what MMA really is and could become. I agree with Dana that it could eventually be the sport, but it's going to take some time, and the UFC is going to need help with a lot of stars. I think the biggest problem that they have right now is that they don't have that star power. Outside of Conor McGregor and Chris Cyborg, take them two away right now, and tell me who the UFC.
Honestly, Chris Cyborg is a far stretch away. Right now, it kind of only is Conor McGregor.
But no, go look at her numbers. Go look at her last two pay-per-views. She's had over a million buys for each of the last 2 fights. Demetrius Johnson hasn't done that in his last 3. Stipe didn't get close. John Jones didn't break a million. It's one of the, and then you take John Jones out of that picture, the UFC is in even more trouble. They do. It's one of the things that I get in disagreements with people where I still feel when the UFC really blew up, when there was Chuck, when there was Tito, when there was Rampage, when you had all these stars, and everyone's like, well, we have stars now. I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't on that level. Like Chuck was, like Dana was right. Chuck was a rock star, and then you had Tito. He was just that brash character. You don't have that many characters out there anymore. That people have the last on. The guys like Donald Cerrone are slowly but surely disappearing from the sport.
But even with those little stories that Dana tell, I'm willing to bet those numbers, if we look back in the past, those numbers are nothing compared to what's going on now. Now, there might have been a lot more people that have made numbers like that, but it's hard, man. Like, and then like you were saying, like the stuff about Conor McGregor is like, how do you create these stars? Like sometimes like the stars just have to show up themselves. And with the way MMA is, most of the guys that fight are martial arts minded type of guys. That like be humble, be blah 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 blah. And honestly, like regular people don't want to hear that. Regular people want to either hate you or they want to love you. If you're the quiet, humble guy, they'll tune in, but it's not like.
But that's when I do think this sport could do with a little theatrics to kind of, some of the purists get angry when we want to kind of throw some pro wrestling into combat sports. But you have to do it just because of the way the sport has grown. I'm not sitting there saying that completely go away from the honor and respect side of combat sports, but also embrace it that it's also entertainment as well.
Yeah. Well, on another hand, too, though, you don't see like NFL guys going crazy like that, and they somehow sell. There's some stuff that can happen. I don't have the answer for you, but I know there's some stuff that can happen on the business side too to help out.
But also the NFL is realizing that they were scaring some fans away, and they're this year apparently they're going to have a lot more of a lax setting when it comes to the touchdown celebrations, which I thought that they were seriously kind of pushing some of that culture and fan base away by doing stuff like that, and they've heard it and kind of seeing it when their numbers decline over the last 5 years or so, because that's pretty much when they kind of initiated the whole thing, and it's I think it's proof that not any sport is immune to not following the culture base of the times and kind of having this their head kind of stuck up their own butt, so to speak, about how they want to kind of run things. Everyone could take a little bit of self-reflection, like I could do this better, I could do that better. Same thing goes for sports, for combat sports, for anything. You look at any type of entertainment value type of stuff like that. It's if you get stuck in one way of thinking things and just stick by that the entire way, you're eventually going to get to the point where you run yourself out of what you're good at.
Do you guys think it's going to get better now after UFC sold, or you think it was doing better before?
I'm indifferent right now. I think that they've done a lot. A lot of the damage was done prior to when the new management took over. Some of that stuff was already done. Put into motion. The Reebok deal and the sponsorship going on. A lot of the things that people were upset about had nothing to do with the new payout. Our thing now is everyone's upset about the pay because we just seen how much they sold the UFC for. That just means that's how much money that that the Fertitta brothers got for all the years that they went and spent themselves into the red trying to get this thing to go off. I'm not going to fault them for making money off it, and you can't take it out on the new owners and investors because of what they didn't do because they were trying to do other things to take care of these fighters. So I say you have to give them a grace period. Whether it's 2 years, 5 years, whatever, to kind of see if they can move this thing in the proper direction. If they make those proper steps, of course we're gonna get mad if things weren't taken care of right away. But that's just us as being human beings, what we do. But at the end of the day, you gotta let these guys get a handle on things, see what they're at, and then make. They haven't made any changes yet. So that's one thing I guess you could kind of be concerned about. But you have to let them take in what they're doing, what's going on, what's going to work, what they can tinker with and change. We've seen a lot of the biggest changes we've seen happen has been with the announcing team. So we have to see how that plays out. Then we got to start seeing down the road how they wind up taking care of these fighters better. Because the same problem that the NFL has will be a problem in MMA in less than 10 years, I guarantee it.
If you ask me, and what scares me is looking at like the UFC retreat that they had, and look at like what did they bring in? How many did they bring in? That was like an entertainment act. Like, give them money to the fight. Do something to the fighters. Don't bring in entertainers to come. Like, a fighter will go to a concert. People could do whatever they want. I just feel like that was
think about it. It was the fighters' chance to kind of get together, let loose, and have fun. If they want to do that type of stuff, I actually think that's fun for the fighters to kind of get away from training for a weekend or so and just kind of. It's like one of those things when you work for a company that they pay for these retreats for you to do. I'm not going to knock them for it. Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that one, Carrie. That they could have used that money better otherwise to take care of these fighters. But I agree with what they did, what the idea, what they were doing. They wanted to hear the fighters. They wanted to have them in a fun environment.
I feel like that money always going to be there. So they could that retreat. I saw a lot of people complaining about it, but that's just a company thing. Every regular company has stuff like that.
Like
a lot of complaints weren't necessarily. They weren't really about the retreat itself. Like if you listen to Kat Zingano was talking about that. I forget what entertainer they paid a fuck ton of money to come and like talk to them. It was actually I think a panel of a couple of maybe Kobe Bryant. I'm not sure who.
But here's the thing.
But like
it all goes into what you take out of it too. I've watched Kat Zingano's Instagram and Twitter during that thing. And she was more worried about being googly-eyed over some of the fighters than paying attention to what they were actually saying. So as much as I love Kat, it's all into what you take out of it. She was talking on some negative points, but I didn't see her talking about the fun and the positive points that she had on it.
Because there were some fighters that came out of that and said they learned something. They picked up some social media skills from it and stuff like that. It's all what you take from it.
There's something to be said for that too. That's huge, and I think that's what they should be doing with that extra money. Personal opinion is people that don't know how to use all those skills, teach them, because you have to know how to do it. You don't just get likes and follow and all that shit off of nothing. It's like an actual business in itself, social media. So if someone doesn't know how to use it correctly, they're going to have no following. I have more of a following than half the fighters I know. I'm like, not UFC fighters, but like a lot of people. I'm like, how do I have more of a following than you? But it's because I know social media. I know how to work it. I've been doing it for a while. You've got to know how to do it. It's a huge part of the industry, and it sucks, and it's annoying, and it's a beast, but it works and get your name out there.
I might need you to give some tips on that, then.
Yo, I can. You have no idea. I grew my following so much in a year. I could totally help you out.
I think we all can learn something from, what
would you guys say when they say about you get what you give back to the company?
Mm-hmm.
I think in the thing is like, listen, everyone has something to complain about when it's talking about the UFC, and some of it's absolutely deserving. But if you're always going to be on that, what they're not giving me over, they're giving this person this or that. If you're always concentrating on what you're not getting, then you're going to miss out on. You're going to have that attitude about it, and you're always going to. Don't be Rampage Jackson. As much as I have nothing but love for Quentin, he's one of the prime examples of. Listen, y'all are laughing because you know I'm right. You know I'm right. Listen, I love Quentin Jackson, but he's one of these guys. If he probably would have, not been so bitter and kind of get offended by other people getting what this person's getting, what that person's getting, instead of just doing what he did to make himself who he was. He probably would have been taken care of by those people 10 times over, or find other avenues to get what he was looking for. And people probably wouldn't think some of the things they think about him. Like most of the time, I hear, someone was getting upset about him calling out Bisping over that Wolf Slayer thing. And getting mad about that. Like, listen, he might have a gripe there, but also at the end of the day, it seems like that's all he likes to complain about is who did this to him, who does that to him. If you're only concentrating on that side of things, he wants to complain about what the UFC did for him. Well, they didn't cut him. They didn't suspend him after he was, boo-hooing over, letting Forrest kind of steal his belt for him. Goes on a literal rampage through freaking Las Vegas, and guess what? The UFC paid for his lawyer fees, paid for all that stuff, and he was fighting again in less than a year. And they let him go shoot a movie while he was at it. But the UFC did all this wrong by him. They also did a lot of right by him too. You can't always concentrate on what you didn't get, what you didn't do. Take for granted what they did give you, when they probably could have easily turned their back on him.
True.
The way I see it right now, at the point in my career I'm at, focus on winning, and when I get there, I'll deal with those problems. Those are problems that I'll happily face.
Yeah, but those are problems that also you're aware of and you know that you have to prepare for and to get ready for. Where some of these guys, in their defenses, probably didn't really understand and know that they were going to have these issues. Because
I don't believe that, though, man. I don't believe that at all. Like,
I just think a lot of those guys just thought there was one of those situations that they would kind of take care of themselves type of thing.
Yeah, well, that's just how life is in general. Like, whatever business you go into, what you get out is going to be what you put in. I understand that maybe people have a hard time understanding where the baseline is, because then they always compare themselves to other fighters. But if you understand where the baseline is, whatever you accomplish, and if you're hating on what another fighter is getting, that's probably because the fighter is doing better than you. They're bringing more to the table. Like, I don't think the UFC is an unfair company at all.
I don't think they're unfair at all either. I just think, like I said, everyone has their own way to think about it when it comes down to it. We all see things through our own eyes and have our own way of thinking about things. So, what you think is a problem for one thing, another person doesn't think is a problem. So, like I said, it's kind of a fun point to be involved in this sport, because there's just so much going on. It just leaves you with so many opportunities to talk about this, to have fun with that, to discuss or argue this. Like I said, it's one of the reasons why I love talking about it, because there's literally, it's one of those sports that literally there is no off season and there's never not anything to talk about. When you look at all these other sports, there's off seasons, they get dry spots, there's nothing really to talk about. You can't say that about MMA. There's just always something happens.
You know what, though?
Fighter test is positive,
just be my fan because I'm younger. So, because I see a lot of the guys that usually bring up that UFC not treating them right stuff is usually the older fighters, and the younger ones aren't really as concerned about that. So it probably is a problem I'm going to face when when I get there. But hey, you can't be looking at the bridge that's down the road. You got the bridge in front of you.
Well, as we get ready to wrap this one up, brother, what we always do to all our guests is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over to you. So to anyone you would like to thank, training partners, teammates, shoot out your social media sites, any sponsors you might have, charities you're working with, anything you want to say at all, the time is yours, my friend.
Oh, yeah, well, it's all the same. I still represent Team Lloyd Irvin, fight out of Williamsburg, Maryland, by way of Lagos, Nigeria. Everybody want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Deeki, DEEK, and 5 Ys, and Super Sodiq Yusuff. I thought I was going to have some fight news to announce, but I don't have anything scheduled right now. But if you follow me on social media, I'll be shooting that out soon. Hopefully I get some advice on getting those social media followers up from y'all, and y'all can help me out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. Definitely, dude. We'll definitely shoot you out throughout the week. Obviously I'll be when we get the links up on the other iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. We'll be tagging you in that. We'll also let these guys know to give you a follow. You're another one of these young upcoming featherweights, man, that are going to be making some noise. So. Hopefully we get to see you in that
conversation years from now, and I'm not one of the people you was warning me about.
Hey man, listen. Everyone calls me a homer because you could just, it's just because you had him on your show before. That's why you talk like that about him. It's like, no, it's because I've had them on my show. I've seen them fight. I've seen what they're capable of. A lot of these fighters could absolutely be stars. You being one of them, there's a lot of there's so much, like I'm saying, between the opportunities. Doesn't mean just because I've had him on the show that's why I talk that way. His skill set shows it. Who he trains with, how they speak about him follows and suit with what I'm saying. So it's not like I'm just blowing smoke up people's rear end. It's how it is. The sport, where you're at now, when the next generation of fighters come in, our heads are gonna be spinning about how insanely talented that class of athletes are. It just goes along with it. Like if you go back in time, let's go look at where your skill set is now. Then you go look at some Cub Swanson. I think when you fully mature to who you are, who you're going to be as a fighter, is going to be eventually better than who Cub Swanson became. It's just the natural progression of how the athletes go in any type of sport. You think running backs from the 60s are as good as they are today? I don't think so. I think that the Shady McCoys of this generation are beyond mind blowing. See what some of these guys.
USC won 5 years ago, and I would have won that competition in a breeze.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the natural progression is just so insane. You have to take it for what it's worth, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Dude, it is always a pleasure, man. Anytime you wanna hop on, hell, you even wanna co-host the show with us, let us know. We'll work it out, man. Have some fun, talk some MMA, BS, whatever. We like to have fun over here on Cage Side Submissions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Thank you. And don't stop hating on Rampage, please.
Actually, the funny part is I have no hate for the man. I don't. Despite all that, I still got nothing but love. Hell, he even blocked me. He blocked me on Twitter. We were making fun of. Remember? Listen. Remember when King Mo was making the memes? Remember when King Mo was making the memes before the fight, when he had the Fat Albert and stuff like that? So my co-host tweeted me was like, I'm not picking on this one, or like you can't ask me to pick between two of my favorite fighters. I was like, I don't know about the fight. I was like, one thing for sure, King Mo definitely won the meme war. Next thing I know, 2 hours later, but she's hit me up. She's like, Rampage blocked me. It's like, no. I was like, he follows. Oh, wait, he don't follow me no more. He blocked me too. I was like, Rampage, I still love you, Rome. Nothing but love. He can block me all he wants. It's all right. I get it. People get sensitive sometimes, man. It's just the way it goes. So what are you going to do?
Hey, man, it's hard. Some people have a hard avoiding that social media stuff.
Yeah, they buy into it too much, man. They got to let it go. You got to be able to laugh at yourself. If you can't laugh at yourself, you're going to kill yourself being too serious in life.
Facts.
All right, brother. It was definitely fun catching up with you. Definitely let us know when you got that next fight lined up so we can get you on here against us. All right, brother?
All right.